Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Gracie Mansion. Welcome to the People's House. We are so happy to have so many people here with us to celebrate this evening. And it is a beautiful spring evening. This is the right moment for a celebration, and we're so happy you all could be here to be a part of it. This is a night when we celebrate a lot of triumphant history of the Asian and Pacific Islander community in this city. A history of achievement. You can clap for that. A history of perseverance. A history of families achieving a dream and living a dream here in this city and in this country. And it's something very worthy of celebrating. And we do that with a recognition that so many people here in this audience tonight have made a huge impact on the city of New York, and the communities you represent are such essential parts of the fabric of New York City today that everyone who's represented here tonight, every community that's a part of tonight, reflects today's New York and the greatness of today's New York and all that it means for our future. So it is a night that we get to feel really good about this city and where we're going. Now we have some wonderful people with us behind me that I'd like to introduce to you. And they represent also so many parts of this wonderful city and all the different communities that came together to make us great over the decades. So I'm going to introduce all of my colleagues in government who are behind me here. In no particular order, I want to introduce Bill Chong, our Commissioner for the Department of Youth and Community Development. Carmelyn Malalis, the Chair of the Human Rights Commission. Marco Carrion, the Commissioner of the Community Affairs Unit. Joseph Pont, Commissioner of the Department of Corrections. Michael O, Director of the Mayor's Office of Contract Services. Our CTO, our Chief Technology Officer for the city, Minerva Tantoco. Carla Matero, our Director for Special Events. Azi Khalili, Director of the Commission on Gender Equity. And then I want to thank the elected officials who are here with us tonight. Councilmember Margaret Chin. And Councilmember Peter Koo. And we have the permanent representative here at the UN from Mongolia. We welcome the permanent representative. And the Consul Generals of Pakistan, Australia, and Bangladesh. We welcome them all. Now, I just want to give you a quick moment of history. If we were standing here in 1950, not long ago really, if we were here in 1950, we would be talking about an Asian community in this city only in the tens of thousands. We'd be talking about a community that really had not yet been recognized as one of the pillars of New York City. But fast forward to today, Asian Americans make up over 1 million of the people of New York City. 1 million plus people. Now, I don't know about you, but I love to make comparisons with the West Coast. It's an East Coast, West Coast kind of thing. And a lot of times when you compare with the West Coast, we win. So I like to do this now. The Asian population of New York City today is larger than the Asian population of Los Angeles and the Asian population of San Francisco combined. I think I'll call both of those mayors later on and let them know we beat them. One of the fastest growing communities in this city and a great example of New York values. Now, I like to talk about New York values. There was a guy who was talking about New York values recently. He was very negative about it. But apparently he's not in the presidential race anymore. That's what happens when you say bad things about New York. But we are proud of New York values. New York values are compassion, inclusion, respect for all peoples, a belief that immigration makes us great. Those are New York values. And the story that we all know, the story of people came here, struggled, did all they could for their children, for their families, and found a way to achieve great things. That is a value we cherish. That's a story we cherish. So many of us know it from our families. And I think that's part of what makes New York City great. It didn't come easy, did it? It didn't come easy, but it made us strong. And that's part of what makes New York City so great. Now, we know that part of how we keep to this legacy is to embrace all people, to offer a helping hand to the next generation, to help people who are struggling. This is what we believe in. This is what this administration believes in. Let's live up to those values. Let's honor the stories of each of our families by being there for the next generation. That's why we have ID NYC in New York City. We recognize with our own identification card all our fellow New Yorkers, regardless of documentation status. They're our neighbors. That's why we extended paid sick leave to hundreds of thousands of more people so families could live better. That's why we have universal pre-K so all our children have an opportunity to be great. So that's how we express our values. Now tonight, we think about all the communities that make the city great, but we also think about in very personal terms our own families, our own neighbors, the people in our lives who have done so much for this city. And I have to tell you, we recognize there are some famous people that make New York City great, who we're proud of, who we know, who give us a sense of why this place is special, and there's also a lot of everyday people who make New York City great. Everyone in this room has contributed to greatness in New York City. All the hard-working people in every store we go into contribute to the greatness of this city. There is a wonderful Chinese saying that's so simple, but it speaks to this point. It says, every step leaves its print. Everybody who is a part of the community of New York makes us something stronger and better. And we're proud of that, and we believe that every single person does that, but we also have the ability at the same time to recognize some people do outstanding things. Some people contribute in a very special manner. And we have an honoree tonight that we want to hold up as an example of the greatness of New York, of the greatness of the Asian community, someone who has given back in so many ways. So I'd like B.D. Wong to step forward. I'm going to say nice things about you first. You got a fan club here. BD is a very modest guy, but I told him he's going to have to listen to some praise and accept the fact that a lot of people deeply appreciate what he has done as an artist and as an activist. Now, again, I'm going to get into my rivalry with the West Coast. He originally became an actor in San Francisco. I must admit that's a fact. He became an actor in San Francisco, but he became an acting icon in New York City. Some of you were lucky enough to see his star turn in M. Butterfly on Broadway. He won a Tony for that extraordinary performance. And he has continued since then all the way up to this year for the role he plays in TV's Gotham. An image in New York City I do not like one bit, by the way. Don't let that happen here, BD. He has done so much work, and so much of it runs through New York. Produced in New York City's theaters and sound stages, filmed on our streets. So his success is a great New York story. And one absolutely extraordinary piece of that success is the 15 years that he played a key role in a little-known show called Law and Order. Law and Order SVU. If anyone wants to learn more about BD's work and catch up with Law and Order, you just have to turn on your TV at any hour of the day. My daughter, BD, my daughter Kiara, is very into Law and Order, and she made clear to me that she doesn't even have to think about it. She just has to turn on the TV, and it will be there. He played, in that role, an FBI psychiatrist who was truly compassionate, who had a deep understanding of the challenges of mental health. And that compassion, that concern, that belief in helping others has played out in BD's activism. He has been a stalwart leader in the fight for LGBT rights, and we thank you for your leadership, BD. So we thank you for your cultural contributions, your civic contributions, and what could be better than having a proclamation? Why, look, I happen to have one now. And BD's done a lot, so there's a lot of verbiage here. I'm not going to read it all. I'm going to get to the good part. Whereas BD Wong has enriched the cultural vitality of our great city and serves as a tireless civil rights activist, helping all the people of New York City, I, Bill de Blasio, Mayor of New York City, do hereby today proclaim May 11th, is that right, May 11th? Hold on. Yes, May 11th, 2016, BD Wong Day in the city of New York. Ladies and gentlemen, BD Wong. Give me some height.
Yeah, no, okay.
You can adore it.
I know. Golly. Golly. Well, I mean, the only remotely disappointing thing about all of this is finding out that it's BD Wong Day at, 7:30 when there's like 3.5 hours to the day left. And so your fantasy of, what you would actually do on BD Wong Day is kind of shot down because, of course, I have a lot of very vivid fantasies about that, including like an elaborate musical number that occurs. And I wake up in the morning with blue birds on my shoulder and walking down the street and, there's a parade and all that stuff. But I really am greatly honored by His Honor, the Mayor of New York, or Moni, the Moni, which is way better than POTUS, I think. Do people call you the Moni?
No.
No, okay. Show me the Moni, yes.
You just made history.
The Moni and the Floni.
Flow Nice. First Lady of New York City.
Yeah, Flow Nice.
There you go.
Floni say. And I'm very, I'm not exactly sure how to address this the way that I'm feeling right now, but I will say that I'm very, if I have anything to take issue with, it's this nervous, I have this nervous kind of guilty feeling about the moniker of being an activist. I did grow up in San Francisco. I was raised by my parents to be as good a person as they could raise a kid to be. They taught me to be good to the people around me. My father's big deal was the Golden Rule, and the Golden Rule is really what replaced a religious upbringing in my house. And I'm, to this day, a little bit grateful for that. But it really wasn't until I came to New York City as a young man, and began working in my career that I understood more what activism actually was, what I understood what charity was, and when I understood what actually giving to the community actually meant. And I learned this from other people because the time that I was a young man was deeply entrenched in the middle of the AIDS crisis. And New York in the late 80s through the 90s was a really intense and very vibrant and very educational place to be for a young gay guy. And so when I compare the things that I'm doing now, which is a lot of attaching myself to causes and speaking out on certain things and all of the things that you might label activism, I feel a little bit guilty in comparison to the tremendous effort that people during that time period displayed for me, which I learned a great deal from. I was a member of the Broadway community, and that was the time when Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS was born, and that's a tremendous organization that was born at that time and has blossomed into a whole incredible thing. And I'm humbled, I guess what I'm saying, is by the idea of being called an activist because of that. I believe very strongly, I have always believed, that the reason to be famous is that you can kind of do something with that fame or that celebrity, and I try to do that, and I acknowledge that I try to do that. I don't lay myself down on the railroad tracks. I don't, throw myself I don't get arrested and things like that. And I admire greatly the people that do. But I do accept this greatly. I accept it because, May, Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month is one of my favorite times of the year in New York City. It's just a yearly reminder of how great this community is and what the community means to me, and I'm grateful for the existence of that putting aside a month to explore that, and so many wonderful things that I experienced personally happened during that time. And I know my mother's coming in a week or two, and she will be so sorry she missed this, but she will be so proud of it as well. And of course, I live to please her, so what can I say? I'm a good Chinese boy. And I also want to really take the opportunity to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for an opportunity and an excuse for me to bring people that I care about together. I've invited at the 11th hour my nearest and dearest friends. They're over here and I'm not looking at them. And it means so much to me that they came all the way to the Upper East Side, which they would never, ever do under any other circumstances. And that means a great deal to me, and I'm very, very grateful to them. I love them all. I can't wait to hug them, and that, even that, I'm my dad's son in the way that even just that, if it was only that, I have an excuse to have a drink and have a really positive evening with people that I really care about, I'm greatly grateful, and thank you so much for this recognition.
I love that for
Well, BD, we thank you, and you are very, very good up in front of an audience. I just thought you should know that. I think you have a natural aptitude. I also want to note we've had some other great guests join us. I want you to give them all a round of applause. The Chief of Transportation for the NYPD, Thomas Chan. The Executive Director for the Mayor's Advisory Committee on Judiciary, in other words, the people who choose our judges, our Executive Director, Desiree Kim. And the Chief Actuary of New York City, very important job that has a lot to do with the future of our finances in this city, the Chief Actuary, Sherry Chan. So we have wonderful people in government who give of themselves, and I want you to recognize these are wonderful public servants who make a big difference in New York City. We have great actors, activists, citizens who make a big difference, and all of you who make a big difference for this city. Enjoy this lovely evening. Enjoy the company of other great New Yorkers. Thank you, everyone.